Hello, guys. Welcome back to the 100K podcast. We have Nelson today, and we'd love to talk about a couple of things. And we relate to many things. Guy was a little. He was doing sports, and I love talking with people that do sports. So, Nelson, how's it going?
It's going well, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm pumped to be. I think I saw you guys are just getting this started, right? This is one of your first episodes, perhaps?
Exactly.
All right, cool, man. Well, it's an honor to be here and help you all kick this off. This seems like a really fun and, really engaging thing. So I'm excited for the conversation. I'm excited.
Me too as well.
Yep.
So, Nelson, can you tell the audience a quick background on who you are?
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah, totally. So my name is Nelson Thomas. I'm an entrepreneur, speaker, go-to-market strategist. Been operating co-founder and CEO of EcoText, which is an educational technology platform. We're building here in Boston. We're in the process and in the position of social learning, right? So we bring together 21st century skill sets alongside affordable resources so students can connect, collaborate, and learn with one another right within the margins of the text, right within the margins of the resources, increasing the learning opportunities, and providing, real tangible skill sets for them to go forward with. So I've been building that for about 6 years now alongside our team. And it's been a ride, man. 6 years. It's been you're at that point now. It's a grind. So but
It is a grind.
It's been a joy. It's been a real joy. Yeah.
When you started on your journey, I know from the talk that we had before that you were doing sports. How did that thing go when you turned from sports to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. That was it's a really pivotal moment, kind of thinking back into it. And, when I decided to suspend myself from sports, because kind of background, right? I started EcoText as a sophomore in college because I couldn't afford my textbooks, right? Me and my co-founder started the company because we would go into the bookstore and we was $300 or more for a textbook, and we would walk right out because there was no way we could afford that in the U.S. space, right? That's a prevalent issue.
Okay.
So that's really where we started, was around textbook affordability. How do we provide a solution where students can get the content they need on day one? Now, simultaneously, right, I was building startup as also being a Division I football player at the University of New Hampshire. And, when I decided to it's very, right, American football is violent. The impact sport, we like to call it. Yeah, the impact sport, not necessarily a contact sport. But, starting that, and then, when I transitioned myself out of football and really decided, to go fully into the entrepreneurship realm, right?
Yeah.
I took all the energy that I would historically give to the sport that I loved, right? The hustle, the work ethic, the sacrifice, the early mornings, the late nights, the kind of things you need to do to improve and be better. I just took that and threw it fully into what I was doing here with this venture, right? With what I was building at EcoText. So those skill sets really, translated heavily, helped us a lot. My team always talks about how like my leadership style is kind of baked into sports culture in a way. I use a ton of sports references when I'm inside talking about those things, particularly American football ones. So it influenced me a ton. Yeah.
You used your skills from playing football and being a team player to leading a successful team and building a company, right?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Those, as athletes, right? I know, Modasser, you're an athlete, right? You're a former athlete as well. Yeah. Omar, did you play any sports?
Some football as well, like soccer.
Okay, football, yeah.
So I know how like a teamwork works, and you have to be working with a team to get like that score at the end of the day. Yeah, it's not exactly. It's not one team player.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So I think having or playing the normal games where you are the only one that does the thing, like kickboxing, you're doing that stuff. It has its benefits, but teamwork in playing games is way better. Like it teaches you a lot of leadership. Teaches you a lot how to be able to let go of doing everything alone. Because I told you before, I had this problem with my company where I couldn't let people do the things. I had to be perfectionist, and I would go, "What do you think about perfection?"
Yeah.
You had this problem when you started?
Being a perfectionist, I think, right, you want, as a competitor, you always want to constantly find ways to improve, right? You always want to constantly find ways to get better. For me, I try to stay within that realm, right? I try to stay within that process, right? And that's what I talk about, right? The process, right? This is the next iteration of what we're doing. This is the evolution of what we've done in the past, building into the future. So, I try not to be a perfectionist. Now that's different than having high standards, right? You can have high standards and a high understanding of the deliverables we're here and what the work we're doing doesn't mean we're seeking perfection, but we're also not sacrificing effort, right? And
Try to get
keep that high ceiling.
things done, like
Yeah.
not in like the best way, but trying to get it as good as possible.
Exactly. Getting things done is a little bit more as an entrepreneur, right? Especially, I starting from zero, right? Entrepreneurs who are just starting out and starting from zero. It's way more about speed and iterating quickly and learning quickly and implementing quickly than seeking perfection, right? If you ship a product,
I actually had this thing on Twitter. Was a video. The guy was like, if you're starting a business, you need to learn the quickest way to make money and not the quickest way to have the best website, to have the best email strategy. You need to be able to get the cash out and then use that money to invest in business.
Yeah. I mean, it's about validation, right? It's about validation of as an entrepreneur, you come to the table, you have this big, bold idea, you have this, concept that you think is going to leave this huge ripple in the universe and disrupt massive industry, right? Well, you got to go at it and go test it, right? So it's also around like, what is the quickest pathway for me to get from where I am now around this huge concept and idea to actually then testing that idea out there in the wild and getting feedback on it and understanding if this actually holds weight, or how do I need to adjust it and fix it? I mean, it's inevitable you're going to go through pivots, being that you're going to change the concept of the business. So
definitely, I think we changed a lot in our business when we started. Like we had these expectations, we had this vision, we had like everything would come in because you have the big idea, you have the thinking, but when you put things into action, so it's just like, things will change.
There is a book called 0 to 1. So he said there is a dream before zeros. Like you are imagining, I'm going to hit like 100K in 1 month. I'm going to build the awesome dream, the perfect company. But it's all before zeros. It's you are dreaming. But when you actually start putting things together, the reality is ugly. It's not going that much smooth. It's not that easy. And you are trying your best to reach your goal or vision, but you have to adjust your plan. You have to have some flexibility.
100%. And you're referring to 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that novel, just for the audience, so the audience knows the novel.
It's an awesome book.
About. Yeah, the book you're talking about. It's spectacular. I mean, it definitely changed the way I think about, entrepreneurship, particularly in the way of fundraising, right? One of the lines that stick out to me about that book in particular was, you're not a lottery ticket, right? And it's important for a lady entrepreneur to understand that, you're providing an opportunity, for others to get involved in something that can make them massive capital at the end of the day, right? So you're not a lottery ticket. You're providing an opportunity for somebody to enrich themselves, really.
Yes, and there is another book called Good to Great. I don't know if you did read it. He's saying how to build a company is always starting small and growing and trying to improve stuff. You have to start to be great, but you don't have to be great to start.
Yeah, no, 100%. You just got to do. You just got to get going and do it.
So, Nelson, can you tell us more about the company? How do you build it, like from the ground up?
Yeah,
Getting books. How do you do that?
Yeah. So, like it goes back to, again, me and my co-founder, right? We were both student athletes. He was a track and field guy. I played football. We both struggled with the same issue of getting our textbooks on time at an affordable rate. And, the original stories, we sat down together in a coffee shop on campus. Shout out Zaxby's. I don't think it's around anymore, but it was called Zaxby's Coffee Shop at the University of New Hampshire in Durham, New Hampshire. And we had this like concept that he sat down and pulled up a pitch deck and said, hey, this is the idea I have, right? And then I sat down there and the message really resonated with me, and I immediately said on the spot, okay, I'm in, right? And this was in 2018, right? So now we've been on this journey, 6 years building out the company, taking different steps forward. Yeah.
So you believed in his idea, and he said like, let's fucking do it without
Yeah.
more.
Exactly. I mean, it was something that in my gut I felt, this is an opportunity for me to work on something bigger than myself.
Do you believe in gut feelings? Do you believe in that? Because sometimes you feel like you have to leave this girl and you have to leave this relationship, let's say, not this business, and you're like, no, I'm gonna stay. And then something happened, and you're like, yeah, my gut feeling was fucking correct, man.
Yeah. It's a balance, right? It's the gut tells you, right, gives you that emotional response, right? And that's what it tells you before your brain's able to kind of calculate out maybe future decisions and future impacts. My gut was telling me like, this is an opportunity, right, for you to learn a lot, for you to get involved in something bigger than yourself, for you to get involved in business, which is something I've always had a liking to, get involved in venture, VC-backed business, which is in tech, which is different than, necessarily maybe a small business, right? So it's just a different level. It's a different pressure. So the gut tells you, gives you that excitement, that emotion. right? And then obviously
Definitely.
think through the things later.
So you're telling your audience,
Ready to go.
if you have like a gut feeling about something that you feel something is going to happen or it's a great idea, just don't think too much and just do it and just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 20, like what are we, 8? Like if you're talking to somebody in college, right, and you're 18 to 23 years old, you should be trying everything. Everything.
All right.
Do you believe in passion? Do you believe like something called passion, or you don't think that's real?
No, fully. I mean, I'm like engulfed in it. You know, you can't start a business without having a fundamental passion for it. I always talk about, how it needs to be doing something a little bigger than money. Right now, it's one thing to have a cash flow business. It's one thing to have a business that's maybe a side thing and you want to keep it at that level, right? But and for the context of the conversation, I'm talking as a venture-backed entrepreneur, right? We've gone through VC funding, we've gotten equity capital into the door, so it's a different league, and it's a different kind of product and solution. And when you're thinking in that way, I always talk about how when you're getting started, it's really important to think about it more than just the financial impact, right? Because the financial impact probably isn't going to come until multiple stages down the road. You have to you have to start the business. You have to invest your own capital probably into the business. You have to wait for those.
How did you adjust to the new league, that top league? Because when you started, I don't think you knew too much about that league, if that's correct. How did you adjust to that?
When you say league, what do you mean?
You said that you went through the top league, getting investors and getting funds. How was that?
Oh yeah, that well, that came through a lot of denial first. Right. I mean, we were, to be honest, we were like chickens with our head cut off when we started, kind of like we were super ambitious, super hungry, super, hustlers in that way. We had the raw intangibles, but the way we learned more and more about venture capital in that space was simply by trying to go pitch venture capital, firms and funds and getting denied, getting rejected and being told why, right? Why isn't our business at that stage yet? We feel like this is a venture-backed capable business. We're high growth and high scalable impact, but we weren't getting the same, results. So we had to get, a bunch of no's, right? And
I think
inevitably.
I think when you are starting out, you get a lot of rejections from whatever you're doing. You are approaching venture capitals, but they are rejecting you. And like you have to keep trying till you reach your goal. You don't have to just stop there. Okay, nobody is going to believe in idea or anything.
Look, if a couple no's is going to stop you from doing what you want to do and doing what you set out to do, you didn't want it bad enough in the first place.
100%.
You really didn't want it bad enough in the first place, because a couple no's shouldn't stop.
That's an athlete mindset. That's an athlete mindset.
Yeah.
That's a fucking athlete mindset.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because a couple no's shouldn't stop you from wanting to do what you said you're going to do, knowing that internally you have within yourself, if you believe in yourself, and you have to believe in yourself fully before anybody else is going to believe in you. Right? So, if you like, how am I going to invest? And that's the thing. How am I going to invest $1 million into you? You don't even believe in you. You don't believe in your ability to execute. So, if a couple of no's is going to stop you, you really got to question what you're doing in the first place.
There is one thing I wanted to refer to when you were saying about the cash flow and the business. Yeah, I think when you're starting a business, you have to provide the value to the clients or the customer you are serving before think about the cash flow. Because if you provide a real value to the people or the clients, they will keep going and the cash flow will go. But if you think about the cash flow, people will like look at you, oh, this man wants his, like my money is not providing any value.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, right? I mean, that's fundamental. Customers is everything. Customers are your king. It's your highest source of accountability, right? That's the way we look at it. Our customers and people who we're looking to serve with our platform, our solution. Is they're our highest source of accountability. So you got to listen to them. You got to iterate for them. You got to build for them, right? You got to know who you're building for, which is really critical. Why you got to get
How would you say you got your first customer? Because I believe they're the hardest ones.
Yeah, cold outreach. I'll tell you how we got our first customer. I mean, we sent probably. I mean, when we first got started, we were a little bit of a different business than we are today. But the original, we sent probably over, I want to say close to 1,000 plus cold emails. Over
per month or per week or
in this single campaign, it was over 1,000 to 1,500 emails we had gotten
manually. And I tell the audience every day that watched us, because the 100K podcast is all about how to make $100,000 from the internet. How can you do that? And we're trying to help them do that.
So Nelson, how many people replied out of like this massive email? Like what was the reply rate?
Man, I have to go back and check the stats, but it was minimal. I want to say we probably got like 20-25% reply. Like we were talking to, Yair Ed and stuff and at the time, and it's just a different ball game when you're speaking to that demographic. And, we was got like 20 to 25%, but then we found this one community college who was an early adopter, Trenholm State Community College. Shout out to them. They're in Montgomery, Alabama, who were early adopters of our platform and jumped on, we went through the discovery process and everything like that, jumped on board with our solution. And they were our first customer out the gate, right? So it was, but it took, right? I mean, like you talk about it.
Yeah, it took you cold outreach.
Cold outreach. It took hustle, though. It took that element of hustle and that element of doing it manually and doing something that doesn't scale first, so you can understand what works, so then you can scale it later.
So, how long did you take to close your first client after like the cold outreach?
Yeah, I mean, it was a process, man. I mean, that's hence why I brought it. I mean,
it's all a process. It's all a process.
It was all a process. Yeah. So, I mean, for higher ed, for us, it took some time. It's not it's a different kind of business. I think for education to just to kind of provide some context around that space, it just moves a bit slower traditionally. Now, once you're in, right, you're in.
It's
so
the cycle starts going through.
Exactly. So then you get them in. Yeah. So, but you got to get them next time.
We can tell our audience, like, it takes time to start a business and you have to keep going. You have to but you have to keep going what you want to achieve. You don't have to stop.
Oh, 100%. I definitely tell them every day, like, if you don't outreach 50 per day, if you don't cold outreach, whatever business you're doing marketing, you're doing SEO, you're doing copywriting, whatever it is, you'll find people. You just have to send more emails, send more outreach, and you'll find someone.
Well, it's about to a degree. How do you speed up the micro, right? And this is something that Gary Vee talks about that I listened to and I took really to heart. It was like, how do you speed up the micro? Because you have the macro vision. You understand it might take a decade plus, right, for you to actually execute on the grand vision you may have, right, and ultimately how it rolls out. But the day-to-day aspects, how are you speeding that up, right? So even if people aren't responding on email, one skill set that us as entrepreneurs need to hone and execute on and be masterful at is cold calling. Right? Pick up the phone, call people, close that gap between the reply. Because if you send an email, they might take 6 days to reply. You call them, you might get them on the phone right now. You leave a voicemail, right? You call them back the next day. It can speed up the time because for you as a founder, you don't have all the time in the world. They may have all the time in the world because they're working for a B2B business if you're selling directly in the enterprise. So it's about speeding up that micro too. It's about speeding up that time and you can get from where you are to where you need to go.
I would say another skill set that they need is adjusting to what's happening. Like if you're sending out emails and everything is good, no one is replying, you have to adjust, you have to change your game, you have to change how you approach people. Because if you don't do that, no one will do anything to it. Like you could just keep sending and no one will reply. What's happening next?
Yeah, I have to say something about that. When we started like our agency back then, we started like cold emailing and it didn't work. So we had like a plan A, B until like that. And one of the solutions was reaching out people through LinkedIn, if you remember.
Yep.
Yeah, and it reaches out. It worked at some point, but we had to keep trying different methods. We didn't have to stop,
Yeah.
You want to work with the big leagues, you have to do what big leagues do.
Exactly. I mean, it's about, especially in the early days, you're just going to have to go through it. You're going to have to go through things, and we talk about this all the time, things that don't scale. Right now, cold outreach may not be the strategy for 10 years, right? But when you're looking for those first people that you want to learn from, that are going to tell you, hey, this is what we love about this product. This is what we hate about your product. This is what we want more of out of your product. You're going to have to do that in a way that
you have to adjust.
Right. And you have to adjust and you have to find ways to speed up, right? Find ways to speed it up.
Definitely. I thought that coming from a background of, I would say both of us are athletes or as well. Would that be helpful for people? Like I would say it helped me a lot because we have the hustling mindset. How was it for you, Nelson? How was it for you coming from football, playing in the top leagues as well? How was that coming into business?
Yeah, I think what it did is instill a mindset, right? That now what I've noticed, right, and what I think and what I believe is that this mindset is applicable across disciplines, right? It doesn't have to be just athletics. Right? It could be applicable to cross discipline. I think the most successful people, right, that we see in our society, whether it be in business, whether it be on sports, whether it be otherwise, have this particular set of intangibles, particular set of mindset, right? So what is that mindset? It's about a constant improvement, right? It's about constant learning, right? It's about constantly being skeptical and iterating, right? Exactly. Right? It's about moving forward and thinking that way, right? And having that type of the work's never done. I'm consistently in the process, in the journey, committed.
Yeah, 1%
that's
every
where
day.
exactly, because that's where it's at. If you have that sort of mindset, then you have a leg up as far as when you go into entrepreneurship, because you're able to deal with things that are uncertain. You're able to deal with horizons that maybe are unclear. You're able to continue doing work based on faith, not necessarily based on results in the short term, but understanding that those results are going to bring itself to fruition in the long term. So these are all things you learn, I think, through your time, and it's an education that you get in sports. That's why sports are awesome and beautiful, and people should definitely go out and play and compete and learn how to compete, because that's exactly what you're doing in business. You're competing every day against your competitors, against the market change,
against yourself.
So, and against yourself.
Improving who you are. You don't look about other people. Look where I was yesterday, where I want to be tomorrow, and what I have to do to reach it.
Yeah, exactly. So it instills that, right? That's an competing.
Yeah, I think like being successful in any part of life, combination between having the mindset and discipline, including like routine, going to the gym. For like the first months, you will never see a result, but you have to keep going, because after like 2 to 3 months, you will have like this body that you dreamed about, but in the beginning you see nothing. If you step right there, it's the end,
Yeah, and you gotta think about it. And the one thing I always think to myself when I communicate with my team is, the outcomes is only a byproduct and signification that the work you're doing is working, right? So without the continuation of the work that got you there, right, the results will cease to exist. They will cease to happen. So when good things happen around you, you get that deal, right? You get that investment, right? You get that launch, you get that acquisition. It's simply an indication that you're doing the right stuff, right? That you're doing a good job, right? And then but you got to keep going, right? You got to buy in and continuously be committed to the day in, day out work, not the results that happen.
When you said the opportunities season and they don't come anymore, I used to remember when we started the company, back then we had like 20 clients, and then we were satisfied, and then we would get new chances to work with other people, and we'd say, no, we don't have the time to do that. And they kept coming in for a while, and then they disappeared. Opportunities started to seize away. They weren't the same thing. Can relate to this.
Yeah. How did that affect you?
I think it affects us to learn opportunities where we need for, and then we have to take it. Like we have to, like every opportunity that we get, don't tell any client no. Like no, we can see how we can work together. We can do this part time. We can hire more people. I think we were perfectionists back then.
But I think at some point when you grow a business, you can't have like everything in place. Like either you have like too many clients and you can't fulfill the service, or you have too many people and you don't have enough clients. So you have to keep pushing the client side to keep the cash flow in, and you have to figure out your operation problem of like the service fulfilling at some point. And this is how you grow a company. Oh, I don't have the capacity, I'm just saying no,
Yeah, it's not perfect, man. The company is probably the most imperfect thing. You could probably go ahead and try to get yourself involved.
Definitely, man.
It's the most imperfect thing. It's really difficult, right? Really
People think entrepreneurship is easy. Tell them something about that, Nelson.
And it's funny, as I was thinking about coming on this show, because I think that's a big thing, right? You look on social media and you look out there in the wild, right? And people talk about entrepreneurship, and it has this
everyone has it in their bio.
yeah, everybody has it in their bio, right? Everybody thinks about it as a Lamborghini, Maserati, right? They think about it as a big house. They think about the flashy things, right? And
they have no idea what the problem-solving part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they're solving shit, man.
Exactly. There's not enough people talking about the work, right? The work that goes into being an entrepreneur, and the joy that you can get out of that work. The day in, day out fulfillment you get from knowing that you wrote the process, the purpose behind it.
Yes.
To your point, Modasser, I think you mentioned the what did you have said there?
But the opportunities
about the about
Instagram bios,
but Instagram bios and things of that nature, because a lot of it, that's the way entrepreneurship is portrayed, right? It's just portrayed it's way about the outcome, right? The dream selling of it. Now, it's for me, right? If you're a purebred entrepreneur, pure blood entrepreneur like myself, I didn't do anything else out of college. I went straight into EcoText. I started building EcoText.
You could have
always been an entrepreneur. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't work as an employee. I didn't.
Yeah, I had a question for this one though. You were the leader of your team in the football.
Yeah.
How, can you be a follower? Can you follow someone, or is that hard for you?
No, I think I know. No, I can follow people. In fact, on my football team, I wasn't the star by any stretch of the imagination. I was the special teams guy, as they call it. I was the dude running down, doing the dirty work that most people on the team didn't want to do. Right, I was getting smacked in the face. I was doing the real gritty stuff that comes to football, not the flashy offensive, defensive side of the ball. So yes, I have the capacity to do that, and I think that's critical, right? Because now I'm in this position as a leader, I'm able to grab from people who I've followed before and take things that I like from, my coach, and take things that I like from my mentor over here, and take things from people. It's really important. And I think one of the fundamental, one of the largest skill sets in entrepreneur, especially if you're the person, you're the head person, not the co-founder, but you're the person, is you need to be able to understand how to put people around you that can lead you to success, right? Because you're not going to have all the answers, right? Building a team of advisors, people you can ring up on the phone, people you can speak,
And your circle.
people that you can follow. Yeah,
And the circle, the people, I read something that you are the outcome of the 5 people close to you as a friends, or the people you are going with through work and stuff.
Yep.
So if you are like sitting with the millionaires, you'll be the next one. If you're sitting with losers, you'll be a loser. This is what you keep in mind.
Exactly. And I always follow the structure of you want to be around or have somebody in close network to you that's a little ahead of you, right? And you have somebody in close network to you that's at the same level as you, and that gets you competitive, right? You're able to compete with each other. And then you want somebody in close network that's a little behind you, that maybe you can pull along, and that practices your leadership capabilities. So it's very important, right, to be able to follow and follow well, right? But it's also very important to choose wisely who you decide to follow, right? Do this person have a skill set I can learn from? Does this person have intangibles I want to grab from? Those things are really important when you choose who you want to follow. It's different than just simply being a follower. You're choosing instead who you want to learn from. It's a different concept to a degree.
You're gonna ask me about the website and how he get the ebooks. How do you get the ebooks? That's pretty interesting. We want to know how you.
Yeah.
I can't tell y'all our secret juice. No, I can't tell. I mean, we're what I'll tell y'all is this. We're very involved in the community and a movement called Open Educational Resources, right? So Open Educational Resources are freely to use, free to acquire resources available on the open internet. This movement started out of the textbook affordability crisis, right? Students who couldn't pay their textbooks weren't paying their textbooks. Student debt has ballooned. We understand that to be a massive problem, especially within the United States. We started within that space and partnered, right, with a bunch of different content producers within that space to get our library, right? So that's essentially what encompasses our library to date. With these different partnerships is the world of OER, right? They call it, and providing affordable options to students as opposed to having to go pay the $300. So, with that's how we've been able to get our foot in there. That was almost our first step, finding creative ways and adjacent places to get the job done and prove out the concept of what you're building. Beyond that, we also work in a number of ways to get content too, beyond just that scope, but really involved in the OER movement and within education, which is really exciting in terms of how it's going to be able to provide
Education and technology, you say?
Student. Yeah. I mean, that's our shtick, man. That's what we do.
You guys have audiobooks on the website?
No audiobooks today. Strictly ebooks. 100,000 textbooks right now.
100,000 textbooks.
So can you tell us little more about the problems that you faced when you're like starting your company and taking it to grow with the company and scaling?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot.
Definitely. Entrepreneurship is all about problem solving, Nelson.
Yeah, it really is. We faced a lot of problems early on, and I think part of the reason, right, when you're trying to do something innovative, go back to hearing no's. You want to hear no's from investors. You want to hear no's from potentially friends and family. You're going to hear no's from, people within the market as well. And,
definitely
the problem we were solving wasn't quite in mainstream yet. We're seeing a lot of different solutions now in the world of unlimited subscription. Content, ebook content specifically, is moving in similar direction to Netflix and Spotify, right? Where subscription-based stuff, where you're going to jump in and interact with a library of resources for a flat rate per month. That was a really novel concept when we got started, because the textbook industry was still making hand over fist, right? They're still making money the same way they've always made money, then COVID happened, so things switched and things changed up. So one of the big things that we were facing was content. How do we get content on the EcoText, right? Because if the whole premise of our platform is delivering an affordable solution to students and combining it with this social learning technology, we need content to be able to do that. So how do we get content that we can use without jeopardizing or risk getting sued by a larger player? That's how we landed within the OER space, right? And that's how we ended up finding these free resources. So, you know, when challenges come your way, you know, you as the entrepreneur have to figure out ways to get through that, either around, up, down, sideways, which way, or through it. Like, you have to find a way to get over that hurdle and prove out your value, right? Prove the value and ultimately let the customers and the market decide, you know, how long you live.
But this is how company are like grow and scale, you know?
Yeah.
If you face a problem and just, I can solve it, you will shut down the company, you know?
Yeah. And you know, and if you go back and look at any entrepreneurial story, right? If Steve Jobs, everybody loves Steve Jobs, right? So we can talk about Steve Jobs.
Legend.
Right. You know, you know, or even a better example, even PayPal talks about being weeks on burn before they close down, right? PayPal, in the original days of PayPal. Steve Jobs gets kicked out of his own company.
A couple of years.
Yeah, Ray Dalio, right? If you read Principles by Ray Dalio, Bridgewater Capital, which is now the largest hedge fund in the world, right? He had to take a loan from his family at one point, because they had to close down the business, you know, and they had to close down the business and then bring it back for it then to become the largest hedge fund. So
that's crazy.
Things happen to these entrepreneurs, right? These things happen where you're going to go through these moments of real darkness and real trial. But what makes an entrepreneur is the ability to find a way to continue and persist beyond that moment, right? Beyond that feeling of original failure. This is not working, but how do you find a way to keep going? How do you find a way to make it
what's your why?
Quarter and the next thing? And and what's your why, right? How are you, is it, you know, what is your why? Are you asking me directly what my why?
No.
I'm asking, I'm saying, if you want to tell you, ask you why, that would be great. I love how you had the problem yourself and then you fixed it. Like, you had a problem, you couldn't get textbooks, you and your co-founder, and then you're like, okay, how am I gonna fix this? You didn't go get a loan, you didn't go get borrow money from people. You're like, hey, I'm gonna do a fucking platform, I'm gonna make money out of it.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to go in that direction. That's what
the thing is, most of the like the companies that start up, it closes in like the first 5 years, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't find the problem for their company, or they just can't solve it and say, they take the easy way. Okay, I'm going to shut down the business.
Yeah.
And this is why not a lot of companies succeed, like long term.
How are you guys completing your time? How do you guys keep going?
Yeah, how do we?
What's your why? You would say.
Yeah, what's our why? Oh man, I mean, I'll speak for me personally.
Completing almost a question.
Yeah. You know, I think so. I'll answer that in two parts, right? For us at EcoText, we fundamentally know that what we're doing can have an impact, right, beyond ourselves, right? We fundamentally understand that students are facing issue with affordability. They're facing mental health challenges. They're facing learning isolation, especially in a COVID post-pandemic higher educational environment. We feel and understand that our product and solution has the ability to provide scalable impact and make a ripple, right, in the universe, and make a change in an industry that is so longing and so necessary for innovation and change. Education has historically been a laggard as far as innovation and as far as technological enhancement, comparatively to other industries. And we feel and understand that we have the ability to make a real impact on learning, right, and building out 21st century skill sets and helping students really be prepared for the world that they're entering. So for us at EcoText, that's our North Star. That's our why. Like, why are we doing this? Because we want to help students. We are a platform built by students for students, and we want to help them understand and reach their full potential within their trajectory.
Like
now, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's our slogan internally. I mean, that's why we started the company. We were that student, right, who couldn't afford their textbook. We were that student who struggled, right, learning in isolation, dark corners of the library, banging my head against the wall, trying to understand concepts. Nobody I could talk to, nobody I could connect with, nobody I could engage with at the time.
Do you guys have a community on the website?
That's that plan. Sorry?
Do you have a community on the website?
Oh yeah.
Where people
I mean,
can chat and then talk to each other?
it's growing. I mean, these are part of these are things in which we envision and ways in which we can impact the world of startup and the world of in our world of med tech. But yeah, no, that's the pieces of EcoText. That is around connection, collaboration, and learning. That is who we are at our core. We're looking to build out those connections among students, among peers. Learning opportunities in abundance is what we aim to provide through our platform.
Nice. So like you have a Facebook group or WhatsApp group where you collect all the students that are facing problems or like want textbooks and stuff.
I guess it's on the website.
Yeah, we don't. No, we don't actually have a WhatsApp group. But is that something you guys think would be beneficial?
I think
This could be a little
Facebook
feedback
groups-
session for us right now.
No. I think Facebook groups are very important.
Yeah.
From my experience, I like used a lot of like products and service. When you go to like a Facebook group, there is a community where the people all asking questions related to like the same thing. They help each other. So at some point they make friends, they make connections. So it's very helpful.
The product, I would say. I thought WhatsApp group is fair for it. Like people wouldn't like to share the number with everyone.
Yeah.
But a Facebook group is doable. I would say my opinion about this would be, why don't you do a community on the website itself? Because the website would have more traffic because people are engaging in conversation, and then you get more people in anyway. Like you guys are talking about a textbook, they don't understand, and then there's a community around the textbook. Someone is explaining, someone doesn't understand, someone is questioning stuff, and then you get more traffic in.
I agree.
Yeah, even to touch on that, just about the product itself, that's what's capable, right? That's exactly what's capable on EcoText. You can highlight things, take a note, add each other. I can add Modasser, I can add Omar. You can put in the thread below and blah, blah, blah. Similar to how you would on a Twitter thread, similar to how you would do it on Facebook.
Oh,
right. All these different kind of platforms. Yeah, you have that capability to create threads and sub-threads of things based on what you're seeing in the content. Bring in YouTube content, bring in threads, bring in external adjacent resources to layer the learning experience with real world, situations. Just the other day, I was giving a demo and I brought in Joe Biden's State of Union address, right, on top of the historical context of the State of Union address, right? So as you're able to see what happened in the State of Union right next to what you're learning about the historical context of Congress or the State of Union or the presidency right there within the content. So these things are, this is what we're doing at EcoText. This is what we're building out.
It's switch of information.
Yeah.
I like that.
But something I would add about the community, like me and Modasser have courses, and when you build a course, you have like a Facebook group.
Yeah.
So people went to this Facebook group and help each other. Like when someone have a question, someone who went through the same problem or the same experience can help him, and they like push the community push each other.
Yeah, I mean that's what's and I think beyond just pushing each other too, right? It's like they're learning from each other, right? They're connecting with one another. They're practicing verbal
product,
right?
Exactly.
They're practicing the written. The written and communication, form of communication, digital communication, which you think about the world we're in now, you need to, if you're going to build a business online, $100,000 online, right? Yeah. You're going to have to be able to communicate in the written way. You guys are doing it right now. You know what I mean? So that's exactly what it is, right? You can build connections out in the 21st century this way. With
Zoom helps a lot, man. Zoom helps everyone. If you're not leveraging, guys, listening, if you're not leveraging the internet, if you're not leveraging Zoom, if you're not leveraging LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, you're losing a massive ton of value, man.
Exactly. Really. I mean, and you need to build out those traits, and that's what your community is doing. They're learning from one another, right? They're connecting with each other, building out connections, which can, parlay itself into more opportunities, but also, they're communicating and they're increasing the opportunities to go deeper than just what your curriculum's providing.
They are in this community for a reason, they sign up for the same course or they want the same textbook. They have the same vision, They will connect, like having the same mindset.
Exactly. Yeah, they form that community.
Let's talk about public speaking. I remember when we had people, we talked about public speaking. We talked about how hard it is to do the first speech, and how students, I would say that watch our content have a problem doing the first project or the first public speaking project.
Yeah,
they have to do this for the first time. Anxiety. Okay. How do you deal with that? What's your advice for people?
That's truth be told, that's one thing that I think I struggled with early. Now, I did I've done public speaking for a while, right? So I've gone comfortable, right? I think more things come with reps, right? And I think the way to fight against anxiety is through preparation, right? That's one thing that I always, and right, it kind of goes back to that sports mindset, right? Prepare, right? The more you prepare, when you get to the game, which is the speech, and you're up there on the pulpit and you're up there in front of people, right? Because you prepared and you understand your lines, you understand your message, you understand, the why behind what you're talking about, you're able to put that within the speech itself, and then the rest becomes a bit easy. So, really it goes into the work you do beforehand, and then just having confidence in that work that you put in, right? So that you can go up there and do the job. Another trick that I always like to do, I just scan the heads of people. I never quite look into people's eyes, except for one or two people that I've identified in the crowd that are really resonating with what I'm saying.
What do you say? You okay?
Yeah, I almost look to the back of the room, right? From the stand, you can't see, right? From the stand, you don't really know, that they're looking in the back of the room. But I just look at the back of the room, and then maybe I find one or two people to be my temperature, right? So then it's like, okay, one or two people in the room that maybe we made eye contact before, maybe in the beginning sets of my speech, I understand, okay, they resonate with something I said. So then I'll look at them. Did you resonate with what I just said right now? Are you feeling what I'm saying? Do I need to change my delivery? Things of that nature in the moment. So find a couple temperature setters, some tone setters in the audience that you can lock eyes with. Maybe it's a friend that came with you, or somebody that you bring along as somebody, as somebody up there maybe for the first time that needs that extra assistance, especially because it's not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. But those are a couple tips I have around easing anxiety about public speaking. But it goes back to the preparation. It goes back to practicing the speech.
I always tell people that you go to watch a movie for 2 hours, but you haven't seen the years they've been shooting it for. So you have to train well. Like when we were athletes, you go in a match, it's 45 minutes to the first thing, and then the other 90 minutes overall. You've been training for 6 months every single day just for this. So you have to do that to the degree more.
And and then another thing to add there too, I think if public speaking is something you want to do and it's something that you're not good at today, you got to take advantage of all the different opportunities for free to start, right? Just so you can get the reps, so you can get good at this, right? Take advantage of all the opportunities you can to public speak. I know somebody recently that started taking improv classes, right? To help with their, improv classes to help with their, help with their speaking, right? Help with their comfortability in front of people and being authentic in front of people and being able to do things on the move and on the fly. That's a great way to build confidence. Yeah. Also to note too, that's what I did. I did theater too. So that also definitely helped with, in high school, I did theater. But that helped with me getting that.
One thing I want to add, the more public speaking you do, the more confidence. Like if someone did 100 public speaking, the first one will be the worst and the 100 will be the best. The more you practice, the more you put yourself out there, the better you become, not by just, oh, I'm not good, I'm not going to do it right, oh no,
you got to be the one to jump into the deep end, right? You got to be the one to just take the risk. And again, if we're, specifically talking about 18 to like 25, 20, like relatively no responsibilities. You're not like you got a mortgage or anything. Maybe you do, but like, you don't have so much burden typically.
You don't have a kid yet.
Right? You don't have a kid. You're in school. You don't have crazy stuff. So take every risk, take every opportunity in the world. Shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, right? Because you're going to figure out things you like to do. You're going to figure out things about yourself, find your characteristics and things. You're going to find your passion. That's the only way you're going to find your passion is by trying things and doing things rapidly, right? So if you're in college listening to this podcast, you should be trying everything, going to every campus event, trying to join every club, get yourself out there and understand every activity, speak in front of people, take advantage of that because that's the place to do that work, especially on college.
Get your business started, mate. Get your business started.
Exactly. Start that.
I'll get you a really deep question there. Yeah. I always ask people, what's your philosophy of life? Because I believe the philosophy of life comes from two things. Our life experience and the parents have a huge impact on that. Like how your mom raised you, how your dad raised you, how whoever raised you did have an impact on your philosophy. What would you say is Nelson's philosophy of life?
My philosophy of life, it's a great question. The way I think about life is in 4 different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's work, right? So what is your purpose? What is your why? What is your mission? Especially as men, right? As men, it's important for us to have purposes and missions, right? To set forth with, right? For our lives. right? You know, conquest.
We read about, do you remember the name of the book, Modasser?
Paper.
No, about how men thinks.
I can't remember.
We both read it.
I can't remember. I think it was a podcast. I don't know if you know, something Fresh and Fit podcast.
Oh yeah.
And then
I know that.
they related to the masculine and feminine, but you keep going with the philosophy.
Yeah.
And then we got others.
You know, not so much on the. I think it's important for men in general. At least that's the way I feel, right? You know, speaking from my perspective, not necessarily on the same tonality as the Fresh and Fit angle, but I do think, right, you know, it's important for men to have that. So work is definitely important. What are you doing for you on your day to day? Because you spend a lot of time at work, right? You know, so you want it to be purpose driven. You want it to be something that feels like it's making an impact, it's making a difference. Relationships, right, are vital, right?
What's your purpose? Relationships,
right? Relationships. You know,
what about
finances, right? So it's about, you know, relationships, both, you know, because it's natural for us as human beings to want to make connections with other human beings, right? This is how we fundamentally survive, right? You know, and you need to have both good relationships at home, good relationship with friends, you know, that you may have support groups, support systems. So it's important to have positive relationships that are filling your cup, not necessarily taking away from you, right? Negative relationships that bog you down, you know, distracts you, keep you away from what your purpose is, right? And then finances, right? Financial goals. What are your financial goals? Where are you trying to go? Pardon me. Where are you trying to head to? Right? So you need to deeply understand that as well. And then your inner relationship with yourself, right? How do you feel about yourself, right? Your self-love, where are you deriving your confidence from? I think confidence can only be derived through struggle, right? Can only be derived through struggle, only derived through overcoming challenges. So it goes back to that personal relationship that you have with yourself, which could be built through the physical, right? Going to the gym, right? Building up your mindset through lifting weight, right? Which is kind of my mindset, or running miles, or doing whatever you do to move your body. It goes back to that physical aspect too. So yeah, exactly. So it's a mixture of work, finances, relationships, and the physical hard work that you put in. Yeah, I live my day to day, man. Yeah.
I believe actually coming from this spot where confidence comes from doing the struggles and everything, and it comes from promising yourself something and doing it. Like if you say, I'm going to go to the gym at 7 a.m., you have to go up and do it. If you don't do it, I think it's going to happen.
No, you're spot on with that, man. So those are your promises you keep to yourself. You break enough promises to yourself, you lose your confidence, right? Because you can't trust yourself, right? People only trust what they can believe, what they can believe over a period of time, right? Consistency is what you can trust. You can only trust consistency. So if you're not consistent with yourself, then you can't trust yourself, which means you don't have confidence in yourself.
You know, I had a huge problem with my self-love back then. I cared way more about the value and approval of others, about the validation more than I cared about my own opinion about things. And it got me to do crazy shit. Like I used to ride motorcycles. I used to have a vlog called Modasser vlog, and then I used to do some crazy ass shit just to impress others and be like, hey, I'm the cool guy who is trying to kill himself on rifles just to make you guys see the thing. So I think self-love is pretty important.
How did you get to that point? Like, what was the transition to where you were able to go from feeling that way, right, where, you know, the way you described it, not really having much self-love for yourself, and then ultimately getting to that stage where you feel that confidence for yourself, or at least starting to bud to, right?
So for me personally, I used to be like, hey, okay, so what happened is I used to ride way too many motorcycles. Every single day I used to ride for 2 hours at least. And back then when I was younger, I had no friends. I had no one. I was really alone. So I started reading self-help books, reading way more about psychology and all that. So in a way, I started riding motorcycle and getting friends in that thing. So I had motorcycle friends. I had to impress them just to stay in the group because they were older. I was the youngest. I was 18 back then. So I thought if I impress them, I'm going to be that cool guy. So I kept doing that for 2 years. And then I had a huge accident. I was going to die. It was tough, man. I had my safety on, my gear on, so nothing happened as terrible as it should have been. And then I was like, I did that for people. Yeah. I was going to die for people. So what should I do now? Is that what I want to die for? So it all changed for me. The game changed. Everything changed. I was like, self-love, man. You're doing this for yourself. You're not doing it for other people. And yeah, that was the transition for me. You don't need to go through an accident to do that, though. You just learn from my experience.
yeah, man. I mean, you know, I'm sorry to, you know, it's a powerful narrative you bring up, because that's the thing, right? You know, when it's all said and done and you're by yourself and it's, you know, you're alone, you know, how are you feeling about yourself? Right? That's the truest test, man. You got to be able to love what you see in the mirror, and the way you become to love and adore what you see out of yourself is by, right, buying into the process, is by keeping commitments to yourself, is by overcoming struggle and hardship, right? It's the only way. We can't evade pain in life. Pain and life are synonymous. It is inevitable, but we have the capacity through continuing to push, right, where we can have the opportunity to discover massive things about ourselves that really lead to that happiness and lead to that freedom. So no, that's a powerful narrative you bring to the table, man. So
Thank you, Nelson.
I want to add like one more thing about this topic. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you are working too hard, but the results are not good. So you are keep blaming yourself. I'm not good enough. I'm not working enough. I'm not getting results. So sometimes you have to have a peace with yourself. You did the best you can do. You have to be satisfied. Okay, I did my best. The results are not good. I will keep working tomorrow. You don't have to be like going into depression because of working too much with less results. You know, it happened to me personally. You know, I'm not sure about that's you, but it happens. You know.
yeah,
That's a good.
yeah, you know, and what it kind of makes me think is like, and this has happened because, you know, this is why I got out of therapy, which was really good, right? So yeah, I had in college, right, I had gone to therapy, dealing with a lot of different emotional issues, especially as an athlete, right?
That's powerful.
So, you know, speaking to this point, because I'm a big mental health advocate, and I think therapy among founders, right, is an under-discussed conversation. But, you know,
It's undiscussed, really.
yeah, and mental health for founders is important. And through that process of therapy, what they talk about is looking at yourself almost objectively, being able to pull yourself out of subjectivity of your work, right? Yeah, at the time for me, it was football and the ebbs and flows of that game and going up and down and getting playing time pulled. And 1 week I'll be playing, the next week I'm not playing. And it's this crazy kind of cycle, right? You got to be able to disassociate yourself necessarily from the results. It goes back to the process. You're simply doing the work, right? It's not about the results. So it's not my value isn't attached to my balance sheet, right? My value isn't attached to my revenue dollars on a monthly basis. Now, yes, it's a signification of the performance, maybe the job I'm doing, but I am not simply, my being is not just my company, right? We're all different people to different things, right?
I see the way to go. My being is just another company. I like that.
Yeah, you know, it's because life is about more than that, right? And you are more than just the co-founder, CEO, or the stars of this podcast, or the stars of your company, starters or whatever you're doing. You're more than that. You're a son. You're maybe a father. You're somebody's boyfriend, or, you know, somebody's love interest, or you have all these different roles that you play.
One stock,
right? Exactly. It may be, depending on how it's going. You might be somebody's villain. You might be somebody's happiness, whatever it might be. But you have these different faces. And you are more than simply just one thing.
Just about money, you know. I went through depression when I was building like the agency that I was building. I didn't achieve the results that I wanted. I was just depressed. Oh, I'm not going to do it. I'm not good enough. I didn't love myself. And I was talking to a friend, and she told me, "You are building the business because you want to build a business. You don't have to get a depression because you are building a business and you don't achieve the results you want."
Yeah.
You have to love yourself. You have to be grateful of what you have, of what you achieve, and see what's next. It's not about blaming yourself.
You know, I would say a good quote for the audience is, don't forget yesterday's wins and failures and focus on today's. Like, whatever happened yesterday is just something that happened yesterday. So if you won yesterday, it was yesterday. Now it's a new day. You have to win a new one. We have to fail a new one, and then you will learn anyway. You just so do that. Is the way for me. Like today's is we had the podcast, we had good wins, we closed deals. That's good. Tomorrow, I'm not gonna be attached to the outcome that I had yesterday. I'm gonna love the process of getting new customers, getting new clients, building more.
Yeah. And Omar, I wanted to ask you this, man. So how did you? So you mentioned that where you were down on yourself and you felt this lack of confidence. How did you persist through that? How did you find a way to overcome maybe those negative feelings to ultimately continue to work harder, right? Or work on what you're doing, even though the results weren't in your face originally?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I took 3 days off vacation, and I was all by myself.
Yeah.
I took like a paper and pen and start writing why I'm doing this. What is my purpose? What did I achieve? Shall I be happy with what I achieve, or shall I be sad? What's my next? and I started putting realistic goals. Okay, and after 1 month, I want to hire like 2 team members with me. I want to get certain amounts of clients. If I achieve 50 to 60, that's enough. I don't have to achieve the 100.
Yeah.
And I start putting like treats or prizes. If I achieve like 70% is okay. You have to like go on another vacation in like a good location.
Yeah.
And-
Okay. All right.
And I start this process that way. When I achieved like the 670 and I give myself a treat, I was happy. Okay, so I
Yeah.
achieved part of what you want to do. You have to enjoy it
Yeah.
and take a break and look at the next step. You don't have to do 100% in 1 month, you know?
Yep. So you're able to find a way, from what I'm hearing, right? You're able to find a way to strike some sort of balance, right? Because you're also you're able to, okay, I'm working hard today, but then down the line, I'm going to, take a second to rest, right? Take a second to breathe.
Look at, reflect,
Build that into the schedule, right?
reflect and look back of what you did, what you achieved, what you have,
Yeah.
not what you don't have.
Yeah.
You know,
Look at what you've accomplished.
yeah, I had a self-love. Okay, you are good. You did, like, people in your age are not doing this, you know? They didn't achieve 10% of what you achieved. You don't have to be hard on yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Easy and appreciate.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
Positive
Yeah.
self-talk. Yeah. Speak to
Have
yourself in a positive way.
I have one last question, Nelson, so we don't have to take all your time away from the day.
No, I'm chilling, man. You guys want to keep going. I'm vibing, man. This is a dope show. I appreciate you guys having me on. So I'm here to.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Just like I told you, I love to have the podcast of this, just a conversation style. We're just talking to the viewers. We're having a conversation. The entrepreneurs trying to learn from each other, trying to connect, trying to have a friendship, which is something that we appreciate so much. And so my question is, if you were not an entrepreneur or an athlete, because you're an athlete, you would say an athlete, what would you do?
If I wasn't an
Not
entrepreneur,
questions or not a good question.
if I wasn't an entrepreneur or an athlete, what would I do?
Hard question.
It's a hard question because truthfully speaking, I feel like I am living fully in my purpose. I feel like this is 100% the field I'm supposed to be in. And beyond that, I think what gives me the most joy, I think I would be a coach, honestly. I would be some sort of coach, right? I would be coaching people. I would be finding a way to give back and fill people up so that they are then empowered to reach their fullest potential. I think I get a lot of joy out of that. Being able to show people things that challenge people, show things that, show them that they are capable more than what they thought they were able to do. Right? Pushing them beyond perhaps their limit. So perhaps I'll be a coach. I don't know. I think maybe that's the field I would be in.
It's a good thing to have.
Perhaps,
It's a good way to have to put this, like, you have a part of you that's inside you that's really good, that's thinking, if I wasn't doing this, I would help people to think, oh, like, this is really, like, white hot shit.
Yeah, man. It's about, it's kind of like, how do you, you have a natural things that maybe you're gravitated to or you enjoy. How do you build a career around those things, right? Because I do believe that people have talents, right? You're born with some type of competency, some type of ability to do something easier than maybe your peers can, right? And then it's on you then to hone that natural capacity or natural capabilities into a craft that then is eventually revenue generating, potentially could make you money down the line. It's about honing those different skill sets. So, for me, I think I identified a passion for leadership. And I think fundamentally, more than anything else, beyond being an entrepreneur, beyond being a CEO, co-founder, Nelson's a leader, right? And if I wasn't being an entrepreneur, I would be leading something. I would be finding ways to be a leader and to pour into people and to show them that together we can build magnificent things.
Together we can build magnificent things. We can love to end the podcast of this. Thanks so much, Nelson, for having you. Thank you. Thank goodness. We enjoyed this. I really love connecting with you, man. We'll think to actually see you in the Bani, waiting for you there.
Dude, I'm booking my ticket right now, man.
Wait.
You sold me on it, man. So, we might.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Like, we'll spend time there. Thanks so much, guys, for listening to the podcast. We'd love to see you on the next one.
Yeah.
We can start recording now. So, how are you? That was good.
Yeah, that was good.